Once again, the Rangers spanked the Royals in a 4-0 win, but every thought in Rangers fans' mind is on Jacob deGrom, who left this one with right wrist tightness. On today's show, we're getting into all that and more. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into today's show, this episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/MLB60 and use code MLB60 for 60% off plus free shipping. Now, let's get into the good news of Monday. The Rangers won 4-0 over the Royals. They did it by absolutely shutting the door down on this offense. Just one hit, not a whole lot of base runners, and the Rangers have their 10th win of the season. 10% of the season is done, and the Rangers are 10-6, alone atop the American League West, and they did it by a healthy heaping, not quite as much of a portion of Jacob deGrom as I would have liked to have in this one, but 4 hitless innings from Jacob deGrom, just 1 walk for him, and an error allowed. Those were the only 2 base runners that Jacob deGrom allowed through 4 innings. The Rangers had a 3-0 lead in the first, courtesy of a 3-run absolute moonshot from Josh Young, who continues to really impress early on this season. But Jacob deGrom left this one after the 4th inning. There was a lot of confusion as to why he was leaving this one. Rangers PR tweeted out that it was right wrist soreness as a precaution, is why they took him out. He was still absolutely shoving. 4 innings for him in this one with just those 2 base runners, 5 strikeouts, looked absolutely dominant. 58 pitches, 39 of which were for strikes, and he was absolutely shoving against, granted, not the best Royals lineup, not the best lineup in all of baseball, but still a major league lineup, and he looked absolutely phenomenal. It was really terrifying, those 5-10 minutes or so that we had where we didn't have an update as to what he was doing, but we know, right wrist soreness. And in terms of how bad things could be, we are bringing back the deGrom ranking. We are at deGrom 4, which is a medium level of Jacob deGrom preparedness. I made this in the spring, hoping that we wouldn't have to get too much use out of it during the regular season. But, here we are, officially deGrom 4. I tweeted this out: increased intelligence watch and strengthened security measures around Jacob deGrom. That's where we are. We are not, this is on a 5-1 scale. deGrom 1 is, the world is ending, hug your loved ones, kiss the earth goodbye. deGrom 5 is, everything's fine. deGrom 4 is, kind of perturbed, kind of watchful, kind of uneasy about the whole thing. The Rangers had another starter who was lifted early on Saturday. They got some good news about John Gray. He was hit in the arm with a 109-mile-an-hour liner off the bat in his pitching arm. Turns out he was fine. He ended up being fine, was pretty much pain-free by Sunday night, so that was nice. Hopefully the Rangers can get some similar news on Jacob deGrom. You could tell he was frustrated when he was leaving that game, leaving the mound after the 4th inning. The Rangers broadcast showed that, and that was about all we had to go on for those 5-10 minutes, and we didn't really know exactly what was happening. But in terms of what the injuries could be, if it was a forearm, if it was a shoulder, a knee, or Lord forbid that stupid oblique coming back, that left side tightness that kind of derailed things early on in the spring, that would be a concern. But I'm looking at his injury history since 2016, and here are the ailments that he's missed. They have dealt with his shoulder, his arm, his back, his elbow. Nothing with his wrist. So this is at least a new injury, hopefully not anything that is too serious. But I am recording this literally about right after this game is done. Still waiting on more updates from the Rangers as we get those. This will be premiering live, I think, on Tuesday morning. So maybe we'll have some new updates, but I don't anticipate there being a whole lot more news by the time morning comes, because that's just kind of the way things work. But all in all, it was a little worrying. It was a lot worrying, honestly, just to see Jacob deGrom leave this game at all. But I mean, looking at his body of work, he is still, through 4 starts with the Rangers, still doing exactly what Texas signed him to be. He's got an ERA finally under 4 after that really weird fluky first game where he had a lot of soft contact and was kind of hit around. He's averaging over 5 innings per start, got 32 strikeouts, 3 walks, 8 earned runs, 15 hits in 20 2/3 innings of work. A whip of .87 is just absolutely astounding. A nearly 11 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. That's one of the things that I really loved about Cliff Lee in his time here with the Texas Rangers, is that season. And when Cliff Lee was at his peak, he was striking out a crap ton of guys and not allowing a lot of walks that would allow him to go deep into games. Well, when Jacob deGrom is healthy and he is allowed to pitch a whole 100 pitches, which he hasn't done yet, we'll see. Maybe we'll get that in 5 days or whatever it is, 6 days, five games, whenever the next time we get to see Jacob deGrom on the hill in a Texas Rangers uniform. If we get to see him against the Oakland A's, that is going to be a whole lot of fun. And if it's not against the Oakland A's, then it'll be against the Cincinnati Reds. If he gets 3 starts in a row against the Royals, against the A's, and against the Reds, actually, I guess that'll be 4 starts in a row because his last start was against the Royals. Remember, the Rangers didn't even throw him in that series where they won in Houston for the first time since 2018. Remember that? They also didn't throw their number 2 starter in that series where they won. Also, the Astros just absolutely uncorked an absolute butt whooping in this Monday night game. So it's maybe the Rangers pissed off the Astros, and their lineup's going to figure it out and try and catch them. But for right now, the Rangers are alone atop the AL West. This was a scary moment for Jacob deGrom, but thankfully, in terms of the amount of updates that we could have, the Rangers are always going to, it seems, play it cautious with Jacob deGrom. He is their ace. He is the best pitcher by far in baseball when he's healthy. We see how absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, disgusting it is when he is on his game, even against a lineup like the Royals. It doesn't matter who he's facing. When he is at his peak, he is absolutely incredible. But we are at DEFGROM 4. Hopefully we can remain there, maybe go back to DEFGROM 5, the lowest level of DEFGROM preparedness. Coming up, we're going to get into what the bullpen did, what Dane Dunning has done this season in some really unheralded but great spots, especially in today's game. Before we do, this episode is brought to you by SoRare. Our new sponsor, SoRare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, SoRare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there is no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. SoRare recently partnered with MLB All-Stars Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez to serve as brand ambassadors. Both are featured in SoRare's current brand campaign and will engage with the SoRare community throughout the season at MLB events. So head to SoRare.com/lockedon, that's spelled SORARE.com, to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's SoRare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Now, this Rangers bullpen really picked things up. They did have a no-hitter going, no perfect game after Grom was out, but Dane Dunning comes in, and of course he allows a hit just right after a one-out hit when he is starting in the 5th inning. Rangers had a 4-0 lead courtesy of that insurance run from Marcus Semien, had a absolutely massive shot and off of Jordan Lyles, which, again, stop me if you have seen a couple of massive taters given up by Jordan Lyles, but I do want to shout out him in just a second because Dane Dunning was absolutely on one in this one. 4 1/3 innings of work, just 1 walk, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, which equaled deGrom's in a third of an inning more. and he still has a perfect 0 ERA. Dane Dunning has been so incredibly good for the Rangers in just 6 games so far this season. He has come in big moments, and he has allowed pretty much nothing. He's only allowed multiple hits in 1 outing this year. That was in 3 innings against Philadelphia on April 1st. At that point, the Rangers were completely in control. He has come in games where the Rangers just needed some mop-up duty. He has had outings of 3 innings, 4 innings, 2 innings, and this one was his high out of the bullpen, 4 1/3 innings of work. I thought maybe he might get the ball all the way down the stretch, but he did not get to finish this one off. Was credited with the win, did not get the rarely seen. It might have just been a win as opposed to a 5-out save, which is the old school way to get it. If you pitch the last 3+ innings of the game and you're the only reliever to do so, then you get the save, even if it's in a win, even if your team's winning by 10 runs. But it is a valuable thing to have a guy like Dane Dunning to be able to come out of the pen. Hopefully he doesn't have to move into the rotation. That would mean Jacob deGrom is going on the IL or skipping a start. Hopefully that is not what is happening. I don't think it will. But having him in this role with Jake Odorizzi out for the season, I really have to shout out Dane Dunning for what he has done. He has been so valuable for this team. 15 1/3 innings of work, just 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, a whip of .72, and just 8 hits allowed. 0 earned runs for Dane Dunning. Yeah, 0 earned runs for a guy who was thought to be not making the Major League opening day roster. Seemed like Jake Odorizzi was going to have that long man role, and the Rangers were going to send Dane Dunning down to AAA to go get some seasoning and go be their ace of the AAA staff, but that wasn't the case. He ended up making the opening day staff. He has come in some big moments. He has come in mop-up duty. He is mainly mop-up duty, but still allowing the bullpen to have those days off, to not have to throw a whole bunch of relievers out there, especially in a game like this, in a game where the Rangers were winning, and it would be very easy for them to just let up the gas after a really, really emotional series in Houston, going on the road to face the Royals, a team that sucked and is coming off getting their absolutely teeth kicked in by Atlanta this weekend after the Rangers took 2 out of 3 against them last week at home. It'd be very easy and understandable for this team to kind of let things down, but Bruce Bochy is like, no. You guys gotta keep it on them. The Rangers got on them early, got that 3-run shot by Josh Jung, his 3rd of the season. The first one to the pull side, and absolutely hit the crap out of it. The hardest hit baseball in his Major League career, 109 miles an hour off the bat. I believe it was 441 feet. 108.9 miles an hour off the bat. Marcus Semien's was no slouch either, 412 feet for his home run. So really great stuff for them there. Glad that the Rangers get the win in this one, stay on top of this division, and nice to see Rangers getting some important outings from Jose Leclerc coming in, and I believe maybe not quite getting the save, but still coming in a clutch spot, getting that win against a team who was worse than them, but still, you need to get those wins. You need to take advantage of these bad teams when you play them. The Rangers, they're in the middle of a stretch of 9 games, well, I guess 8 games left, where they're playing 3 series against 3 teams that are all very, very bad. The Royals are a bad baseball team. The A's are probably the worst team in all of baseball, and then the Reds are maybe scrappy, have some interesting young guys, but are still bad, and you need to take advantage of those games when you have them. The Astros had not done that so far this season. Nobody else in the AL West has really done that so far this season. That's why the Rangers are 10-6 and on top of the division, and alone atop of the division. At this point, the only team with a winning record. Maybe Seattle. I can't remember if Seattle plays tonight, and if they will be. No, they did play tonight. I think they got to. No. That is from Sunday. Never mind. Doesn't matter. If Seattle plays and wins, then they will have a winning record. But right now, the Rangers are atop that division, and they're looking for some cushion to head into May with a division lead in the season, or in the month. Hopefully in the season, but at least in the month with a lead in the American League West with some cushion, because it'll get a lot tougher, the schedule will, in the month of May. The Rangers do not have it easy, and they have a very, very tough series to end the month with 4 games against the Yankees. This is a bad Royals team, and the Rangers took advantage of it by absolutely destroying them and not letting up in this one. This is a game that maybe could have gotten a little bit out of hand in years past, but the Rangers had Jacob deGrom on the hill for the first 4 innings, and it really could have gotten out of hand when they had to turn the ball over to Dane Dunning, but it didn't. And shouts out to them for taking advantage of Jordan Lyles. I do want to give a shout out to Jordan Lyles, a guy who I feel like I unfairly maligned so much of his time here. It's just, I didn't like the type of player that Jordan Lyles was. Not that he is not a good player, but it's more about where the Rangers were at that point. He pitched 8 innings in this one. Jordan Lyles is a guy who is going to bounce around to a bunch of bad baseball teams for the next 5 years, throwing about 200 innings and, providing a lot of value in that. 179 innings for Baltimore last year with a 4.5 ERA, 180 innings on the dot the year before with Texas with a ERA of 5.15. He's just going to go. He's going to give up dingers, and he's going to munch those innings to keep you from having to call up some of your young pitchers too early. And he's going to go and be on bad baseball teams and be fine at it. Shouts to him for bouncing back after a really terrible pitch to Josh Young. A couple of errors, or at least I believe it was just scored 1 error and just some kind of shoddy defense at third base. A couple difficult plays for the Royals' third baseman, Brandon Dozier. But still, I think it was a little bit ungenerous, the scoring of that, but it didn't matter because Jordan Lyles is a freaking pro. He has been in the big leagues for a long time, and there is value in guys like that. And I think that it is a important distinction that the Rangers are not going after guys like that for the last couple of years of just having a guy who can, he's going to go out there every 5th day. He's going to get shelled for probably 4 or 5 runs, but he's going to get you 6, maybe 7, occasionally 8 innings. Sometimes he'll go out there and throw an absolute masterpiece and give you a complete game every 10th game or whatever. But for the most part, he's going to get kind of rocked. And the Rangers, moving on from their rotation, where the number 5 guy in their rotation now is a guy like Andrew Heaney, who just threw 5 shutout innings against the freaking Astros, and then the game before that started off the game with 9 consecutive outs, retired via strikeout. That being your number 5 starter is a huge indication of where this team is. Coming up, we're going to look at Evan Carter, who has absolutely crushed it for the first couple of weeks. Is he ready for the big leagues, or is this talk all extremely premature? But first, this word from our sponsors. Now, I am a huge Evan Carter believer. I had this guy number 1 on my prospect rankings, I believe at the midpoint last year. I was really close to having him number 1 before the season. I think I might have shuffled him in at number 6 before last season, but it did not take much time last year, seeing what he was doing at his age at such an advanced level, such an advanced approach, to see this kid is different. This kid has a lot of potential, and I think that he could be incredibly special. But for right now, he is absolutely killing it in Double-A Frisco. Through 9 games so far this season. There's no game on Monday, so there will be no other extra stats that I have to read in here. He has 44 plate appearances. He has 3 home runs, 8 walks to 11 strikeouts, hitting .389, on base of 500, slugging .667. That is an 1167 OPS in those first 9 games. Also 2 stolen bases to just 1 caught stealing. Also has a double, just for good measure, because why the heck not? This guy has been putting together incredibly quality plate appearances. The Rangers were super impressed by this kid in spring training. There was some hush-hush whispers of, maybe this guy's going to end up, stealing a spot at the end of the roster, the Major League roster. Maybe he's going to break camp with the Rangers because Leody Taveras was on the IL. Well, that didn't happen. The Rangers ended up sending him down. Wasn't even the last cut that they made, but he did earn Bruce Bochy's respect, did earn the Rangers front office respect. They already knew what they had in this kid. They knew how good this kid was. I mean, last year in 100 games in Hickory, had an .864 OPS in 447 plate appearances with 10 extra base hits of each type or more, 11 home runs, 10 triples, 18 doubles for this kid with a .388 on base as a 19-year-old in Advanced A. Then he comes up to Frisco for 6 games in the regular season, hits over 400 on base, over 500, slugs over 700, then helps lead Frisco as a key part of their lineup in center field. just a huge part of them winning the Texas League, was not overmatched at all against the best of the best in the Texas League as a guy who just turned 20. But that's the thing. Evan Carter was drafted as a second-round pick in 2020. The Rangers got an absolute steal. They were patting themselves on the back, high-fiving themselves. They were just really singing his praises and talking about how, wow, we did such a good job out scouting everybody. And Grant Schiller and I at the time were kind of looking at each other. I believe we did an episode like not much after that draft thinking, you are not the guys who have out-scouted anybody. You have not been that good of a scouting department to be able to, pat yourselves on the butt and cheer like a month after the draft. By the way, not even that far after the draft where they're just like, wow, you guys really, these other teams really messed up by letting Evan Carter slip to the second round. He was a Duke commitment out of Elizabethan High School in Tennessee, tiny town. The only other person of note is some guy who played professional football. I believe it was in Dallas. His name is Jason Witten. I think he's a Hall of Famer or something. But outside of that, Evan Carter might end up being the most famous guy out of that town. I mean, probably not in Dallas because everyone loves Jason Witten, rightfully so. But Evan Carter is pretty special in his own right. But again, he just turned 20 in August of last year. He does not have that much time above AA. He has at this point 15 games above AA. He is not going to come up and save this team and be the everyday outfielder. There's a reason why he didn't make the major league camp out of spring training, is because if he's not going to be playing every single day, then there is no need to call him up. He needs to be getting everyday plate appearances. He is still very young, and while the Rangers outfield has been pretty atrocious offensively, and maybe Evan Carter could come up and be a little bit better, we have seen what this team has done when some guys get called up a little bit too soon. It can stunt their development, or better yet, or worse yet, if they come up and have some success at a very young age. See Rougned Odor, see Nomar Mazara. They can be compelled to think, well, it's not that hard. I don't have to get that much better. I don't have to change anything about myself. I can just keep doing this, because if I'm having this level of success at this age, then why am I not going to just continue to get better? And that really stunts them and has hurt them in the past. And I don't think they want to make that mistake with Evan Carter, because I think Evan Carter's ceiling is a lot higher than Rougned Odor's. It might be higher than what Nomar Mazara's was, because Nomar Mazara was never going to play defense. He was just going to be a guy you put in the cleanup hitter role who would hit 280 and have 25, 30 home runs, and would be really freaking nice to have that right about now. But that's fine. We're fine. It's fine. I'm totally over it. No, I will never be over the loss of the potential of Nomar Mazara and whatever the heck happened there. But the Rangers have learned their lesson there. Evan Carter is not coming up. He is not coming up to save this team. Here's the best case scenario for Evan Carter this season reaching the major leagues. I do think that is a possibility, and I don't think it is a long shot possibility. But as for calling up in 2 weeks, I think that's just absolutely cuckoo bananas, unless everybody and their mother in the big league club who can play the outfield gets hurt, and then several people in AAA also get hurt. That is the way that Evan Carter sees the big leagues in the next 2 weeks. Or I don't know. I literally cannot think of another scenario. But I think the best case realistic scenario is that if Evan Carter keeps hitting, nearly 400 with an on base of 500 and slugging close to 700 for another 3 weeks in AA, the Rangers might just say, okay, well, you might have learned everything you can at AA. Let's see what you can do at AAA. And if he does around that, hits, 350, 400 with an on base of 500 and has about as many walks as strikeouts or more, and hits with power and plays excellent defense in center field and continues to progress and have these extremely quality at-bats, because it's not just the numbers. These walks that he's getting, he is not settling for anything other than exactly what he wants. He has had multiple different 9-pitch walks in key moments, keeps fouling off pitches until he gets exactly what he wants, until the pitcher makes a mistake. Then he capitalizes on it. And if they don't make a mistake, if they just continue to pitch around him, he could either squirt it into left field for a base hit or, just work a walk if the opposing pitcher is too scared to pitch to him. And that's great. That's exactly what you want from a guy who is 20 years old, will not be able to buy his first legal beer until August 29th of 2023. He is still very young. He is very impressive. The Rangers have always been aggressive with this guy. In 2021, he only played 30 games because of a back injury, but he put up a .438 on base in 146 plate appearances as an 18-year-old in full season ball. He was drafted the year before. The Rangers just were absolutely raving right after the draft and when he was playing in the complex, whatever Arizona scrimmages, inter squad scrimmages that they had in 2020. They said he looked like the best hitter of that entire group. There was no minor league baseball. All the minor leaguers were there in 2020 in Arizona facing off against each other. And the Rangers were like, this kid, this 18-year-old kid that we had just drafted months ago, looks like the best hitter there. And they gave him that aggressive assignment, and despite him not playing that much in 2021 because of the injuries, they still bumped him up a level and let him play in Hickory for the full year. They didn't even bump him up to Frisco when he was crushing it for basically that entire season. They didn't bump him up to Frisco until the Hickory season was done. So the Rangers are going to take their time with this guy, despite him absolutely crushing it, and the Rangers not getting a whole lot of production out of their outfield. I mean, Robbie Grossman right now has an OPS below 500. Ezekiel Duran is playing some of the outfield. His OPS is at 300. Travis Jankowski hitting in the 2-hole had some nice aggressive play with that bunt, forcing the Royals third baseman right after making an error to make another error and using his speed to his advantage before that 3-run shot by the cleanup hitter, Josh Young. First pitch he saw as a cleanup hitter, he hit 420 whatever feet that it was. 441 feet. Don't want to cheapen it because he hit the absolute tarnation out of that baseball. But despite these struggles from the Rangers outfielders, I don't think we're going to see much Brad Miller coming out to play the outfield because he's going to be a DH or he's going to be nothing, I think, at this point. And he is still doing okay, a 774 OPS heading into this Monday night game for Brad Miller, despite only having the one home run so far. But the Rangers are fine. The Rangers are winning. The Rangers are okay. Now, if they start skidding and Evan Carter is absolutely crushing it in Double-A and has been promoted and does exactly that, and it's June, and this outfield is still kind of trash offensively, then that's when you start to look and think, okay. But it'd be like mid-June at the earliest. The Rangers are going to give him time to face some struggles, to have some adversity, to battle against that. He hasn't had that much of that in his minor league career. He had a little bit of it in 2022. Missed a little bit of time due to, I believe, leg injuries, but still played 100 games with High A Hickory. But I mean, this kid has not failed that much at the minor league level. He has not failed in professional baseball all that much. And you need to learn how to fail and to move on from it. And if you don't give him the opportunity to do that at the minor league level, figure out how to learn from it and grow. And I mean, some kids just end up absolutely crushing it at every single level, and then they don't struggle until they get to the big leagues. The outfielder for Seattle, Jared Kelenic, was a guy who crushed it every single level and didn't struggle until he got to the big leagues. And then he struggled very, very mightily. And unfortunately for the Rangers, he is figuring it out quite a bit this season. I think that Evan Carter has a little bit better pitch recognition skills than Jared Kelenic did, but not quite as much general hype. He is not a top 5 prospect in baseball, which I believe Kelenic was, at least in his final couple years, if not just his final year in the minor leagues. But Evan Carter needs to learn how to fail at the minor league level before you call him up. He is not going to be the savior of this team. This team is doing okay. And again, they're doing it without Corey Seager for at least another 3.5 weeks, without Mitch Garver for at least another, I don't know how long, not that we ever really know. And they're doing it with, some inconsistent performances and some question marks in their rotation of being healthy. They're still winning. They are 10-6 atop the AL West. There is no need to freak out and rush this 20-year-old to the big leagues to be your savior of a team that is already doing all right. Pump your brakes. Evan Carter will get here in his own time, and when he does, it's going to be absolutely glorious. That's going to do it for this show. On tomorrow's show, we'll be back talking about a Nathan Eovaldi start. Hopefully he can bounce back after a really rough outing against the Royals, and the Rangers can win yet another series on the road. 2 road series in a row, head into that series in Oakland. Maybe even looking to have consecutive sweeps. Who knows? That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.